When you hear the words workplace safety, what's the first thing that pops into your head? A hard hat? Maybe a bright yellow wet floor sign? For decades, yeah, that was pretty much the whole picture. But today, our very idea of what makes a workplace truly safe is going through this massive and, frankly, essential transformation. It's moving way beyond just the physical. So let's dive in and see what this new picture actually looks like. This slide right here really gets to the heart of it all. On the one hand, you've got traditional safety, the stuff we all know, preventing physical harm, managing those visible hazards, ticking off compliance boxes. But then you look at the other side, modern safety. And this is a whole different ballgame. We're talking about emotional well-being, about inclusion, about burnout, and about trust. The dangers here, they're a lot less visible. But as we're about to see, they are absolutely no less real. So to really understand where we're going, we've got to take a quick look back at where we've been. Let's start with that traditional world of physical safety. For the longest time, safety was all about what we could see, right? The stuff we could touch and measure. The focus was totally on those visible dangers, things like, falling objects, a malfunctioning machine, or a chemical spill. The goal was super simple and clear. Make sure everybody goes home at the end of the day in one piece. And look, that is still absolutely critical, but it's just not the whole story anymore. And this brings us right to the new frontier, psychological safety. This is where the definition of safety expands to include not just our bodies, but our minds and our emotional states too. So what in the world is psychological safety? Well, at its core, it's this shared belief that your team is a safe place for, and this is the key phrase, interpersonal risk-taking. What that really means is you feel like you can say, hey, I disagree with that, or oops, I made a mistake, or even, I've got this wild idea, hear me out, all without fearing that you're going to be humiliated or punished. It is the absolute bedrock of trust and innovation. So if traditional safety was about those visible dangers, then psychological safety is all about acknowledging the invisible ones. A toxic comment in a meeting that just sucks the air out of the room, that subtle feeling of being excluded, or the crushing weight of a workload that's just not sustainable. These things don't leave a physical scar, but trust me, they can be just as damaging to a person and to the entire organization. So take a second and really think about this for your own job. Does your workplace feel physically safe? My guess is most of us would probably say, yeah, of course. But now for the big one. How about psychologically safe? Do you feel like you can bring your whole self, your unfiltered ideas, and your honest concerns to work without being afraid? The answer to that second question, that tells you so much about the real health of a workplace. So, how do we actually do it? How do we build these kinds of workplaces? Well, it's not some magic formula. It really comes down to three core pillars that hold up the entire structure of modern safety. And here they are. First, you have to champion emotional well-being. Second, you have to make diversity, equity, and inclusion a core safety issue. And third, you have to actively work to prevent burnout. So let's break down what each of these really looks like in the real world. All right, pillar number 1, emotional well-being. Now this goes way, way beyond just offering a meditation app. It means actually weaving mental health support into the formal safety programs of the company. Think about it. It's about creating a culture where someone saying, I need a mental health day, is treated with the exact same seriousness and support as someone saying, I think I sprained my ankle. It's about moving past just awareness and building active, real support systems. Pillar 2 is all about reframing DEI as a flat-out safety imperative. Now, why is that? Well, because a workplace isn't truly safe if people feel like they have to hide parts of who they are just to get by. When someone's afraid of being judged for their background, their identity, anything, they can't take those risks we talked about. They can't innovate. Exclusion is a direct threat to safety, which means, bottom line, you cannot have a psychologically safe workplace if it isn't also an inclusive one. The two go hand in hand. And the third pillar, this one is huge, burnout prevention. This represents a massive shift in how we think. For years, if someone burned out, it was seen as their own personal failure to cope. But the modern view treats it as an organizational failure, a systemic safety risk. So the focus moves away from just telling employees to be more resilient and toward actually fixing the root causes, like insane workloads, no control over your work, or a lack of support from the top. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground, but let's bring it all home and talk about the big takeaway here. Why this new, bigger definition of safety really, truly matters. I think this quote just captures the whole idea perfectly. A truly safe workplace isn't just a place that protects your body from harm. It's a place that creates an environment where you feel safe enough to be authentic, to be a little vulnerable, to throw out a crazy idea, to just be fully human. That's really the goal, isn't it? So if you remember nothing else from our little explainer today, just remember these three things. First, safety is no longer just about hard hats. It's also about what's going on in our heads and our hearts. Second, building this new kind of safety really rests on those three pillars: well-being, DEI, and preventing burnout. And finally, paying attention to those invisible dangers isn't a nice to have anymore. It's absolutely critical for any team that wants to succeed today. And that leads us to a final thought to leave you with. We've talked about this evolution of safety, right? From the physical to the psychological. But what comes next? As our work continues to change with AI and remote teams and everything else, what's the next invisible danger that we're going to need to figure out how to solve for in our workplaces? Definitely something to think about.